Himself.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Omar Ali. I'm the detective of the Jersey City Police Department, president of the Muslim American Law Enforcement Association.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Hassan Hashmi, current police officer with the Edison Township Police Department in Middlesex County, and currently director of expansion for Malia.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Habal Atiq. I'm a police officer in the Jersey City Police Department and part of Malaya.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Perez, Lieutenant, Bergen County Prosecutor's Office. Very happy to be here.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. My name is Ali Huda. I'm a police officer in Ridgeville, Bergen County, and I'm a proud member of this masjid. Great to be here.
Yeah, go.
All right, guys, I'm going to start off with a little introduction about who we are, what we are as a foundation, as an association. We're the Muslim American Law Enforcement Association, also known as MALIA, which stands for Muslim American Law Enforcement Association. We were founded last summer. We just started this last summer. I think it was June of last summer. We've grown and expanded so much from then. I know it was a tough year for us, 2020, probably the most difficult and hardest years in all of our lifetime, being the pandemic and COVID going on. So it's tough to start the process, but we got it going. It was a full 501c3 nonprofit organization, declared a private organization foundation by the IRS. We have about 90 officers so far since we started the organization in the summer, from all different type of municipalities, from local, county, state, federal, different municipalities all over the state of New Jersey. 38 different law enforcement agencies, actually, 20 municipal, 10 county, 7 state and federal also involved in the DEA. We're all-inclusive organization. We're not just, closed to only Muslim officers. We have people of all faiths, all ethnicities are welcome into our organization. And we have plenty. Officers from different faiths, they bring a lot of wealth of knowledge and support to us, and we shouldn't discriminate on who we let into our department. We have officers from rank of police officer all the way up to chief in our association right now, and we're continuing to grow, continuing to expand, and there's a lot of talent that these Muslim officers have, a lot of contributions that we give to the state of New Jersey and the entire nation as a whole. And we needed a platform for us that we can stand on. And the Muslim American Law Enforcement Association has been doing that so far, and we're continuing to move forward and expand on that, inshallah. I'm going to pass it over to the president of the Muslim American Law Enforcement Association.
Thank you. So first of all, it really is a pleasure being here. I'm very happy to see all these young men and women and to be part of this and to. Okay, can you hear me? Okay. So, it's a pleasure being here. I'm very happy to be here to talk to you on behalf of the association, all of us. We just had our Malia secretary join us, Detective Islam from the New Jersey Department of Corrections. And I'll tell you a little bit about the association and what we do. Basically, we have 4 goals of Malia. One being that we want to educate the Muslim community about law enforcement, what it is to be a cop, what it is to be a police officer, what do we do, our enforcement practices, also what can you do if you were interested in becoming a police officer. So that's one of the things we do. And then the second goal is to educate police officers about Muslims, so we can debunk some of these stereotypes, negative stereotypes, and cultural stereotypes that we have of Muslims. A lot of folks don't know that we're hardworking people. We contribute to the society, to our communities, and some of the negative stereotypes take over that sometimes from time to time. And the third purpose, I would say, is to we're a fraternal organization. That means We take care of each other, our members. We're all like brothers and sisters. We're close friends. We make sure everyone's okay. And the last one is we pay attention to what's going on with police policies and practices. And we just have a Union City police officer join us. Jose Martinez, correct?
No, it's Velez.
Well, oh, Velez, okay, my apologies. So thanks so much for coming and stopping by, appreciate you. So that's basically what some of our goals are, our missions are. We would love to see more and more Muslims in the law enforcement community. It's a great career. It is, I would say, lucrative, which is, it pays good, it has good benefits, and it's just rewarding to be able to help people. And with that, I'll pass that on to Officer Hiba from Jersey City, and she'll talk to you, women in law enforcement.
Assalamualaikum again. So when Ali told me like I have to talk, I got excited because being the first Muslim female in Jersey City, I had a unique story. But then Camille said I had to talk about being a female in law enforcement, which kind of like, okay, what am I gonna do now? Because I never really thought about it that way. So I had to Google it. And sure enough, Google helped me realize that what I've been doing this whole time is what female law enforcement is. I connect with the community on a different level, responding to calls, dealing with female victims or suspects. They tend to come to me, but more than to my male partner. He's 6'1", he's a big guy, so they will come talk to me and tell me what happened, what's their story. Also, when it comes to children, they would see me and they would want to come talk to me. They would see my equipment, they want to touch the flash, they love the flashlight. So they'd come and like, oh, we want to see. And then they would eventually warm up to my partner. And during the summertime, just for fun and giggles, we would go to the housing complex and we would go to the playground and play with the kids. That way they see us in a different light. It's not like the police are there because, oh, there's a problem, mommy's fighting or daddy's fighting or somebody's fighting. No, it's because we're there to have fun with them. So this is what I've been doing since I've got on. And apparently that's what women in law enforcement is seeing. Now, something I've experienced that I didn't pick up on is different cultures. I'm 5'3", and again, my partner is 6'1". I would go, we would respond to calls, and we would have individuals, they would go straight to him. They didn't want to talk to the female officer. Why? It's a cultural thing. But then knowing how I am, I would just step back, see what's going on, reevaluate the situation. And then, you know what, I'm here for a reason. You called me, I'm here to help. So I reevaluate it, see, I would break the ice, and eventually I would handle the call, not my partner. And we get resolved. So you would come across things like that. Now, again, the whole female thing, there's many calls where I would respond and it's males fighting or disagreeing or whatnot. I would diffuse the situation. I would, have them calm down compared to when it being escalated. So that's what it's seen as, females in law enforcement. And I didn't realize I was doing that. I was just doing my part, doing what I know best. And that's what Google told me. And, here we are today. Oh, and I love Batman, if you haven't picked up on it.
Give it to LT.
Oh, so much to say, everyone, and I'm really, really looking forward to answering questions that anyone will have tonight. So much we can talk about, and hopefully we cover all the bases and the topics that we would like to present to you tonight. But we're here to learn from you as well as you learn from us. Like, we grow and get better at what we do by listening not only to you, but every other community that we work in. I think the fact that, the representation up here says a lot. Predominantly male, but the beautiful thing is we're changing in law enforcement to represent our communities. Hopefully, the next time we are here or in any venue, there's more females like this young lady here who can talk about their experiences and how they ended up getting here. Like, we should be representing for the most part the communities we serve. And I think it's such a beautiful thing that we now have gone to a place where the officers are speaking different languages, whether it be Arabic, Spanish, anything, any other language, Chinese, you name it, Korean. This is what we're trying to get to. It hasn't always been like this, as the young lady said before. We have to get better at what we do. We have to change with the change. And we need to be told what we can do better and how we can do it better so that we are better in serving our communities. I really, really look forward to this later. I don't want to take too much of the mic and the time, but like, please, I ask after you hear everyone's comments up here, please don't be afraid to ask questions. Any question that you have. If we don't have the answer, we will get you an answer. But we learn from each other by not only talking with you, but you talking to us. And do not be afraid to ask questions. Really, really important, because we'll give you the answer. Hopefully you like the answer. You may not like the answer, but we are here to provide information as well as learn from you as you learn from us. Thank you, guys, and I'll talk to you very soon if you ask questions.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Muhammad Islam. I currently work for the New Jersey Department of Corrections Special Investigations Division, Internal Affairs Unit. As far as my history, I'll just give you a brief synopsis. So I grew up in Patterson. I went to college at Seton Hall. Went to the Marines. I was in the United States Marine Corps from 2002 to 2006. Got deployed to Iraq 3 times. As a Muslim, trying to cope with that, going to Iraq and fighting for the United States, it was a struggle. Shortly after I came out, got hired by the Department of Corrections, worked with the Special Operations Group, worked under the Gang Task Force, went to the academy as instructor. So those of you interested in becoming officers, I can help you as far as the role of what to do and the steps and procedures necessary to go through the process. After being an instructor in the academy in Seeger, later on I got promoted to detective, and now I'm in a specialized unit. I work in Newark. Again, I specialize in gangs, so I'm there dealing with the gangs, but I investigating. Just like the lieutenant said, I don't want to take too much of your time. So later on, if you have any questions that relates to progressing and growing and any knowledge you want to know about joining the military or law enforcement, as far as the application process or anything like that, I'll be very glad to share you my experience or any questions you guys have. Thank you.
Good evening, this is Officer Velez. This is a surprise for me because I wasn't aware I was going to be, speaking.
Well, we appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
But this is what the job, when things like this is short notice or whatever, we got to step up and do what we got to do, right? But as I stated, Officer Velez, I've been on the job for 13 years. I started my career in Newark. I worked in Newark for 4 years before I was laid off. Union City, I was lucky enough to be hired by Union City. I've been here 9 years now, and it's a great city. It's a city that it's represented by all nationalities we have here, and I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen me out here. Sometimes I walk the beat here on Burger Line Avenue. We come through here most of the time just to patrol and, make sure everything is, correct. And I'm also an SRO. I haven't been in the schools because obviously with what's been going on with COVID, things have been shut down. But I believe once in April, they're doing the hybrid thing, and we're going to be going back to the school soon. So I'll most likely be going back to the high schools where I'm stationed out of. But it's a great career. It's something that I would advise if law enforcement is something that you like and you love to serve and help people and in times of need. This is what we do all day, every day. It's a great job. I mean, besides some of the negative things that you hear out there on the news, I mean, we're all family. It doesn't matter. And we're not here to damage, hurt anyone. We're here just to do what we have to do for the city, and we treat everyone with respect. So I'll be here. Any questions? I'm here to help out. I can answer whatever I can answer, and If you have any questions on how to become a police officer, I can help you out with that as well. So my name is Officer Velez, and I'm here to serve.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I introduced myself before. Ali Huda, once again, I grew up in this masjid. I actually sat in your spot a few years ago. In this masjid, I learned how to recite the Quran. I learned how to read and write Arabic, and I learned the history of my religion. And I'm grateful for that, although I don't know, it's to come to the masjid sometimes. My dad had to grab my ear and be like, Yalla, Ali, Imshi, let's go to the masjid. Come on, let's go. By the way, my dad's sitting right there. So I want to shout out to him. I thank him for pushing me to be educated, to have religion, to have deen, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in the spot today, having this nice, cool, shiny badge. You guys see it? Cool, right? All right. So I didn't always want to become a police officer, you know? Everybody wants to make money the quick, easy way, right? Nobody wants to work hard for it. And being a police officer, it's hard work. You gotta work long hours. You gotta work weekends. You can't always be there for your family because you're working overnights. When you guys are asleep, we're out there patrolling the streets, making sure that you guys are safe. So yes, it's a good job, but it does have some sacrifices. But when I grew up, I knew I wanted to become a police officer, you know, not just watching, you know, cops and robbers movies and all the cool, you know, action movies. God tested me one day. Me and my brothers and my friends were playing two-hand touch football on the street. My brother ran to get the ball, tripped and fell. And his shoulder went into a car, a brand new Lexus. Man, I felt so bad for the owner of that car. Everyone else, they ran. I stood behind. I'm like, why am I gonna run away from a problem that we created? I could stand here and do the right thing. So what did I do? I stood there. The owner of the car came out, and next thing you know, the police officer comes to take a police report, and I go home to my house. I'm ringing the doorbell. Mom comes out. She's like, yeah, how did you so it? The cop is here with me. I'm like, Mom, I swear it wasn't me this time. So long story short, I ended up doing the right thing. I told the police officer what happened. We owned up for our actions, and you know, we paid the consequences for what we did. And from then on, I knew I had a sense of accomplishment that, you know what, I did the right thing today. I didn't hide it because guess what? Although nobody's watching, who's watching? Allah, right? We have to make sure we're always doing the right thing. And I had some bad interactions. When I was young, with my friends walking on Central Avenue in Jersey City, it was Halloween. The cops came up and just automatically put us on the wall. They searched us. What are you guys doing here? That was a bad experience I had, but I didn't let that deter what I wanted to do. I said, you know what, when I grow up, I want to become a good police officer and do good for my community and for the people that I serve. So here I am today trying to give back to the same community that raised me, that made me into this young man. I want to get back to you guys, and I want to answer any questions that you guys have about this profession, because I'm pretty sure some of you have interacted with law enforcement in one shape or form, right? Some of you guys go to a public school where you deal with the SRO, right? Some of you guys go to a private school. You may not deal with a school resource officer. So we're here today to give you that interaction besides what you see in the news or what you hear from friends. We're here to show you that in 2021, this is what police officers look like. We're brown, we're white, we're yellow, we wear hijabs, we're Spanish, we're Arab, we're Middle Eastern, we're Pakistani. We come in all different shapes and sizes. And it's not just the profession of the old, big, fat, white ball man. I'm sorry, unfortunately, that's just what the profession was back in the day. But this is it, guys. All right, so we'll be happy to take your questions for you. And anything you have, once again, we'll give you everything we got, guys. All right?
Salam once again, everybody. My name is Sam Hashmi, Edison Police. I'm just going to wrap it up. So if anyone is actually interested in law enforcement, I'm just going to explain to you guys, you know.
Small crowd, so it's not very big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. So like I said, guys, when it comes to law enforcement, there's generally few fields, right? So if you're watching movies, TVs, everybody's heard of, you know, FBI, DEA, stuff like that. These are federal law enforcement agencies. Usually you have the federal level, you have the county level, you have the state level, and you have the municipal level. Myself, I'm an Edison police officer. There's patrolmen that are here. We're with the municipal police departments. So typically, if you call 911, you're gonna have them at your door. If there's an accident, you're gonna have them responding to you. So I'm not sure if anyone in this crowd is actually interested in law enforcement. But like I said, it's not just it's not just that you become a police officer responding to 911 calls. If you want to be a detective, you can do that. If you want to be an investigator, you can do that. It's just a very, very diverse field. All right. And if anyone is ever interested in going that route, it is a long process to get on the job, but it is something that is very rewarding. Like our president said, we're very well paid in the state. We have great benefits, pension, etc. So like I said, like they all said, if anyone is actually interested in it, by all means, ask us questions. We'll be more than willing and happy to answer. Our information is on the banner if you guys want to check out the website. But once again, like I said, we're here, and if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay?
Sarge, you have anything to say? I see you're from West New York.
Assalamu alaikum. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, so I'm not from the Hudson County area. So my experiences with the police were a little different. I was the one calling the police for help a lot of times. Almost was carjacked one time. At 15, my younger brother had a shotgun put to his chest. I had guns put to me, pulled out on me twice. I got robbed the first day, 8th grade, for my new sneakers. So I was always calling the cops. So I didn't grow up with a sense of being scared of the cops. I was actually one of the people who saw the cops as the only or the first line of defense of protecting those who are innocent from the people that preyed upon the innocent of the community. So it's a different, I grew with a different sense. So that's what's troubling to me when I see everything that's going on TV and how police are portrayed as like they're the ones that are, you know, doing all this stuff. When I know I experienced it firsthand, I saw how we exploited each other, how we were robbing each other. I grew up in the what's known as the crack era, 84, 85. That's when I was in 8th grade. So I saw how it ripped through the community and how people who were decent people, how, you know, the influx of drugs into the community totally just ravaged it, just, you know, and everything's been different since then. And when I grew up, I, you know, decided to become a police officer kind of late in my life. I was 36 when I actually became a police officer. But I knew that I wanted to do something to help. In other words, I grew up with the mindset that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So I was never the type to sit back and complain about this is wrong, this is wrong. I was one that said, I'll step up and I got some ideas and I'm gonna put my hands and get dirty and try to help make things different and make them better. He said I'm a sergeant in the West New York Police Department. I'm in the Community Outreach Division. Also, I'm president of the Supervisors Union. So I represent all of the supervisors of my department, you know, with the town in the union aspects. Even though I'm only a sergeant, I'm representing lieutenants and captains. So that shows that they voted for me, they have faith in me to handle their affairs and to make sure that their rights are protected. So when people try to sell you ideas that, like you said, the old stigma or perception of what police departments are, the quote unquote fat white guy, and that, you know, if you're in there, you're a token, and no, you go in there, if you have ability and you show what you can do and you show your intelligence and you show your righteousness, nobody can question your integrity, then you can do whatever you want. Like I said, I'm a sergeant, and I'm representing lieutenants and captains, the deputy chiefs with the town. They come to me to deal with situations for officers that are higher than me. So you can do whatever you want. Don't let the narrative and the political motivations of these kuffars out here on TV put something in your mind and have you, every time you see a cop, then you automatically think he's going to do something wrong to you or he's out to harm you. And they want that to keep that separation because they know that they have a different agenda. As long as we're clashing against each other, you won't look and you won't notice the things that they actually are trying to, slip over our eyes. It's politics and, it has nothing to do with what's on the ground. So when you see your police officer, don't automatically feel afraid or think that, you're gonna, any encounter with them is gonna end up negative. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You don't have anything to worry about. We need more people that represent different races and different faiths, and all of us to go in there and show that, we are part of the community. We're not a piece of, we're a part of it. We're involved in every aspect, and we do want to come together and make it better. So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Sarge. I'm sure you guys heard a lot, enough from all of us here. Now it's time to hear from you guys. So please feel free to, ask us any type of questions you want. I'm sure you guys have been watching the news. There's a lot of things and controversies going on with police out there. So
Make sure you ask the sisters.
we'd like to hear from everybody. The sisters, the brothers, the men, women, boys and girls. Anybody who has a question, please. This is what we're here for.
Make sure you guys introduce yourselves. Okay, who you are.
Hello, my name is Ramis. I just want to ask you a quick, since you said you're the supervisor of the president of the supervisors, what's the responsibility that you're given over the rest of them?
well, my main responsibility is to ensure that the town of West New York follows the contract as far as the supervisors, whether it's vacation days and different things within our negotiated contract. We have to make sure that the town abides by it. So if they do something that goes against the contract, then I have to go, and I'm the one that deals with the town attorneys, the mayor, to resolve the situation. So like I said, if they didn't trust me and my abilities, they wouldn't have me dealing with the mayor and these people for something that applies to them, whether it's money, raises, whatever the case may be. So I'm the one that's in the room fighting for their rights, their contractual rights.
Thank you.
My name is Ronnie, and you said you were deployed in the military, right?
Yes.
So, how was it like when you were training for the military and when you were deployed, what was going through your head and how did you feel?
Well, I grew up in a very strict religious family. My father's the president of the mosque and has been for a long time in Patterson. They were original founders of creating a lot of mosques. So initially I went to Seton Hall, and then I kind of lost focus a little bit as far as staying in school because of the lack of freedom that I had when I went to Seton Hall. So later on, I decided to join the Marines. My mother was terrified. She didn't want me to join. My father agreed with it. He was like, you know what? My son wants to challenge and go. This was shortly right after 9/11. So it was in 2002 when I joined. The struggles I had was with other Muslims within the community. I grew up with a lot of all different types of ethnic backgrounds. I had friends that were Hispanic, African American, and Arabic, and all different types of Arabs, Jordanians, Yemenis, Palestinians. So they were like, why are you fighting for this country? Why are you fighting for this? So I had to deal with them. I was like, I'm in this country, I'm a citizen of the United States. Where could explode. Missiles could come there at any moment. So those were the things that I had to go with. And what other question did you have toward that? You had something else, right? Well, training was very rigorous. Joining the Marines, every branch has their own type of training. So Marines, we train and do a lot, but there's nothing that you cannot do. As long as you put yourself, give 100%, and even if you struggle, like I struggle swimming, At first, I couldn't even swim from myself to the first gentleman right there sitting down. But you know what? I kept on pushing myself. After 6 months, I could tread water for almost 3 hours. But it's the perseverance you gotta do. You can't quit on yourself, you can't give up. That's like anything else in life. You just gotta keep pushing yourself. I swam early in the morning, even in the evenings after whatever my job duty was. And I kept on going at it. So, the training is hard, but, there's all types of training. They call it occupational school, military occupational school. So any type of job you want, there's over 180 different type of jobs. I was an engineer for heavy equipment, so I fixed like all those construction equipment you see. Those are the stuff was my responsibility to make sure to fix them. There's about 65 different types when I was there. I'm sure there's a lot more now. So as far as training, it's intense, but at the end of the day, you get what you get. Just put your mind to it, and you should be good to go. Anything else on that one, or no? No? All right, I hope I answered all your questions. But if later on, if you have any other questions, when this is over, you could step up to me and ask me anything, all right? Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maher Ibrahim. I just want to ask a general question. I'm not sure who's going to answer it. But the situation that we see all the time on the street, if a police officer approaches me, for instance, and asks me to identify myself, what would I do? Even though I know that I haven't committed any crime or I haven't done anything wrong, what can I handle this kind of situation? Do I refuse to identify myself since I know that I haven't done anything wrong, or just comply with them, or I just tell them, listen, I'm not gonna answer any other questions. I'm not gonna take any other question from you. What will you do?
So your question is if a police officer approaches you and just asks you for ID,
Yeah,
just out of the blue?
randomly, without, I know for sure he's, briefly profiling me.
I mean,
Does it happen?
in my opinion, the way I feel, if I was encountered by an officer, which I also started my career late, so I was 20, 25, 27, 28, I wasn't a police officer. I started at 35. So I also live, and I still live in Newark. So if I was encountered by a police officer and I knew that, what I was doing was correct, and I was following what, the right of the right of the land, the law of the land, I had nothing to be afraid of. Officer, what is it you need? Yes, sir. How can I help you? Sure, you want my ID? Not a problem, sir. My name is such and such. How can I be assistance? Is everything okay? Just, communicate and talk to them. And if you have absolutely nothing to hide, then it should be okay. I mean, we have encountered, incidences where someone refuses to give ID or give us a name. For the most part, we don't violate their rights. We don't go after them. We don't try and charge them with any charges. I want to say the way I want to be treated, I treat others. So if I'm asked and I have nothing else to hide and nothing that I know that I didn't do anything wrong, then I just comply and talk to them. I'll have, it's probably easier to say, right? But I know that if something was to happen, I'll have my day in court. I mean, it may sound crazy, but again, if I have nothing to hide, and I don't know if anybody wants to add to that, and you get like a different opinion, but that's how I feel.
Did you get an answer that you liked, or you feel like you didn't get your question
Very
answered?
much. Sometimes they approach you in a very aggressive way, in a very intimidating way that angers you. So you refuse, knowing that you're right. You refuse automatically. You refuse out of pride. You refuse complying with it. You know what I mean?
So,
It happens.
thank you. I want to say thank you for your question. Very good question, by the way. So up here, I'm going to take a wild guess. I'm going to say there's probably over 300 years of law enforcement. A lot of experiences, obviously, different stories, different backgrounds that we can share. Some of which are probably just like a scenario that you're explaining, myself included, it's a little tough to hear or be asked, especially in an aggressive way or in a way that you don't feel comfortable, your name and what you're doing. Like, wait a second, I didn't do anything wrong, to go to his point. I understand that. And that's one of the things that we constantly, when I say we, law enforcement constantly receives training on being better in our communication, being better in our interaction, being respectful. There's no reason to yell at you if you didn't do anything wrong. There's none, right? Obviously, I don't know if you ever heard that saying, if, you get more with honey than you do with like vinegar or anything along those lines. You would probably be more cooperative with me if I treated you with respect, right? And sometimes we make the mistake of not being as respectful as we need to be. Sometimes there's a lot more going on that you may not know about, and we just probably don't have the time to explain to you. But what I can say is this: if any time that you are approached in a way you don't like, the way the officer is asking you questions, guess what? You can ask the officer questions. If they ask you, what's your name? May I ask, why are you asking me my name? And that creates a dialogue. It's not disrespectful or anything along those lines, but you can ask questions as well. And most of the time, we're going to get to a place where a lot of officers now are going to be wearing cameras to hopefully help with those situations that are uncomfortable for you and everyone else who felt the officer was aggressive in the way they approached you, the officer was disrespectful of who you are, or spoke to you in a way they probably shouldn't. We make mistakes, and I like to think that it's a smaller amount of people that make those mistakes, but sometimes, listen, we make mistakes, and I apologize for if there was an incident that somebody approached you in a way that made you feel like you did something wrong when you didn't. I apologize for that, officer. Going forward, we hope to have interactions where you don't feel like that, especially if you did nothing wrong, as the officer said. Usually those interactions go better, but we're working and working and educating and diversifying ourselves in a way that helps with those situations not happening anymore. Does that get your answer? Thank you for your question. That was a very good question, by the way.
Yeah, right. Have a girl that ask questions.
So my name is Steven Chauncey, and you said you were in the military. What made you think, what gave you the idea to go into the military, and how long was the training for?
What gave me the idea to go to the military? I had a couple of friends who were in the Marines, and that were in my fraternity. It's an organization that you join within college. You can. It's a male group, and the sororities female groups. So I seen the Marines. They were very disciplined. They were well-mannered, very respectful. The way they carried themselves as individuals. And I was like, you know what? I need discipline in my life. I need a structure. Even though I had discipline and structure within my household, being my parents raising me, but I wanted a different type of approach on challenging myself. So I wanted to challenge myself to be a better person. So that's why I joined the Marines. So
Can you grab a picture of everybody?
it gave me it redirected me from being almost dissociated with my vision of what I'm supposed to do as a good person. And however, then it changed me into the right path. I believe so. It brought me closer to my dean. It made me understand different cultures within being in the Marines. Because what I was exposed to growing up was what I saw in Patterson. And I did not know there's an outside of Patterson. So I traveled to almost 44 states, 18 countries. I met people from all different walks of life. So I was able to interact with so many different people. And so that at the end of the day, regardless of whatever race or whatever area you lived in, everybody has the same idea and principle. Everybody lives almost the same type of life. Everybody wants to do something positive and provide for their family and have a good life at the end of the day. Does that answer your question, ma'am, or good? Thank you. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna get to your question, I just gotta add to that. It's funny, because when I was in high school, and just like as you guys are talking, it's like flashbacks. I went to high school in Jersey City. I went to Dickinson High School, and I was in the junior ROTC Air Force there. And I loved the structure, like you said, even though it was just high school, we had Wednesdays as BDU days, and then Tuesdays as the uniform days. I loved it, like, doing the flag salutes, everything. And I wanted to continue that. So in Journal Square, there's the Marines. They were, the office there to recruit. I went there, checked it out. This was my senior year. I sat down. We pretty much, they told me everything about it. And I'm like, let's do this. I always wanted, I always push myself. I'm like, Marines seems like the toughest, training. That's what I want. And I was like, okay, this sounds good. I'm with it. Let's do this. But I need you to come to my parents' house so you can convince them. Sure enough, my mom, he spoke to them, and they're like, okay, no problem. Yeah, absolutely. As soon as he left, they're like, what are you doing? You can't go and fight your people. So I kind of, like, being the oldest daughter, I was like, I can't upset my parents. So I steered away from it. I left it alone. And then I went to college, was going for, the typical, a doctor or whatever. I was going, but I'm like, that's not, I love it. But then I ended up taking the police test, and then I got called, and this is my passion. This is what I wanted. As much as I never thought about becoming a cop, I'm like, it makes sense. This is what I'm made to do. So I enjoy it. So if you guys, I don't know how you feel about your parents being upset, but if your parents are with it, go for it. Next question.
Okay, so I have a question. Sarah, my name is Khairullah. And I wanted to ask for you, because I'm also the oldest daughter in the family. Did you ever have like a defining moment where either as a female or as a hijabi that you noticed, like, wow, like who I am and my culture, my identity makes a difference of either my training or how I'm treated or my experience and your experience?
Absolutely. When I got on, my parents, like even my younger brother, he goes, hey, listen, where are you gonna start working in the office? I'm like, I'm on the street. But my background, and I grew up 5 brothers. I have 4 sisters, big family. So I know how to deal with people. I could take that to the street, responding to calls. I'm like, I see him like, okay, it's siblings fighting. Listen, what's going on? And it kind of, my background helps. And people see me. I'll be, in the middle of a busy street. You'll have people, because they see the hijab, Assalamu alaikum, sister. Just randomly. And, if it was someone else, they wouldn't approach them. They wouldn't say anything to them. But they see it's like a Muslim female, so they give me that respect. Which right back, I give it right back. Alaikum salam. And sometimes they even come talk to me, like, oh, what's going on? So all that, it plays a part in the community. And I bring it to them. I have no shame. I'm like, let's do this. I'm here for a reason. Any questions you guys have, whatever you have on your mind, talk to me. I'm here for it. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so I have a question. Like, culturally, being a cop would not be like seen as a fit job for like a woman, or like something that a woman should go into. Like, by the time you convinced your parents and everything, I'm pretty sure you got a lot of backlash from like your community in and of itself, and getting a lot of questions every time you told like someone within your culture, like, I'm a woman who's a cop. And how did you really deal with that and deal with like probably the negative outlook that was on you at the time?
Believe it or not, I've been on for 4 years. So I was already married, and my parents didn't have to worry about me anymore. Not that that's something, but when I got on, my husband was already on the job. And so they were worried, like, Heather, why are you gonna do this? You need to be on the street, you don't need to be dealing with this, just continue, college. You've always talked about being a doctor. I'm like, yeah, but this kind of intrigues me. I want to do this. And with the culture, I actually have not had any backlash. And I used to work in the doctor's office, believe it or not, and the Journal Square, which is mainly Egyptians. they would see me, and as I'm driving, because that's actually where I work in that area, as I'm driving and you see them like, and they recognize me, I'm like, Assalamu alaikum, how are you, what's going on? So at no point did I get any backlash. So don't expect it. It's 2021. People see, and then they see like, mashallah, like, have made it, have becoming a cop, and they look at it because they're used to cops being bad interactions. But like they know Heba's like someone that they've dealt with for years or have had an interaction with her before where it was positive. I'm like, Heba's not gonna treat us that way.
Thank you. Go ahead. We got like about a minute, and then we're gonna do prayer, inshallah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add on, and I'm sure all the gentlemen up here can attest. Don't think of a female that, female, so you should be in the cop or say you're supposed to be on the desk doing the desk job, because there's some females in my department that I'd rather have respond to me with me on the job first before some of the guys. So.
Absolutely. We're gonna continue, inshallah. Is that okay? You guys are staying with us? Inshallah. So I want to give the kids a chance to go make wudu, line up so we can make the prayer, inshallah. And then afterward, we'll continue with some more questions. Is that okay with you guys? Or, well, I don't know what's your agenda. Is that more questions? I do, or the?
Whatever you want, brother. We're here for
No, you guys, whatever you want.
You guys. We got all night.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, if you need to make wudu, go downstairs. 4 people at a time in the bathroom, don't be all, and then space out, and make sure you guys come back up. More questions, okay?
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
استووا مستقيم رحمه الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. ويسألونك عن الجبال فقل ينسفها ربي نسفا فيذرها قاعا صفصفا لا ترى فيها عوجا ولا أمتا. يومئذ يتبعون الداعي لا عوج له وخشعت الأصوات للرحمن فلا تسمع إلا همسا. يومئذ لا تنفع الشفاعة إلا من أذن له الرحمن ورضي له قولا. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون به علما. وعنت الوجوه للحي القيوم وقد خاب من حمل ظلما. ومن يعمل من الصالحات وهو مؤمن فلا يخاف ظلما ولا هضما. ومن يعمل من الصالحات وهو مؤمن فلا يخاف ظلما ولا هضما. وكذلك أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا وصرفنا فيه من الوعيد لعلهم يتقون أو يحدث لهم ذكرا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. أفحسبتم أنما خلقناكم عبثا وأنكم إلينا لا ترجعون فتعالى الله الملك الحق لا إله إلا هو رب العرش الكريم ومن يدع مع الله إلها آخر لا برهان له به فإنما حسابه عند ربه إنه لا يفلح الكافرون وقل رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
He's trying to come up. I'm just saying. You're saying it's too.
Make sure you introduce yourself and then you ask, please.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Hassan. I actually have two questions. Did you? Okay, what advice would you give to anyone that wants to get into like the law enforcement, but like their parents don't want it, specifically like girls also like what way should they like introduce it to their family to like get into it? And like did you ever get any struggles where like a point where like, you said like I have to choose between like my hijab and like my career or something? Like did you ever get to struggle to that point?
Believe it or not, nowadays, the hijab is not something where it's like, oh my God, she has a hijab on, she can't get a job here, she can't work here. Because even though I wear my hijab like that, and Haddison, right? There's a female officer, she wears her hijab fully, where it covers, the neck and everything. The departments nowadays, they don't look for, does she have a hijab or not? They just look for, are you able to do it? Are you able to go, do you go through the background check and everything is good? So you go through the academy and everything is good. If you go through the academy, then there shouldn't be a reason why you can't get on and start working. Now regarding the parents, that's a little difficult one because they have to. I mean, like I said, my mom and my dad, they would always be worried, like, oh my God, you're working, just make sure you're careful in this. But again, I have my brother and my husband, they're on the job as well. So they see like, okay, you know what? She'll be okay, inshallah. But you have to explain it to them, like, at any point in time, something could happen to us. So the job is not what, the reason you're gonna be hurt. And so you gotta let them know, like, I'm be okay, inshallah. I'm gonna make sure I'm careful, make sure I take, I wash my bag. I'm gonna make sure I choose a partner that has my bag. So, but you have to sit down with them and let them know that this is what you're passionate about, and this is what you really wanna do.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sophia, and one of you guys mentioned how like you were deployed around the time of 9/11, and I just want to know like how that affected like your job and like the people that you worked with, how they reacted to you, and if anyone else was working during that time too.
Well, great question. I was going to answer that earlier to that gentleman over there. It came across my mind later on. The Marines I trained with and other Marines and supervisors. So when you look at me, you just see a person. However, when you look at my name, you see Islam. So, a lot of people they prejudge me thinking like, they say all kinds of stuff like you're a terrorist boy, you're a spy boy, and stuff like that. However, when you work with them and they see what you're about, like far as your performance and how you carry yourself, then you start earning respect from other individuals. So it was a difficult time dealing with that, but nothing was malicious in any way. People were just afraid to interact with me because of my name. Went through that. Then after a while, it happens here and there. But once people know who you are as a person, as a character of who you are, you shouldn't have any issues. It didn't affect me because it just shows how narrow-minded someone is or how uneducated someone is. And I dealt with it so much. You just have to be strong. You have to be a strong character, a strong person, and just move forward. All right. So when in boot camp, I remember that on Sundays for religious events, they gave you a couple of hours to go and pray and do whatever religious activity you want to do. So I went to a room that was intended for Islam, so Muslims. I didn't realize that. There was two Arkansas Caucasian males with red hair, and they were both Muslims. It was a shock for me. I was like, who are these people? But they were Muslims. There was others from New York. So I saw Muslims here and there throughout the Marines, some from Syria that were military with me in the Marines, but it was all right. It doesn't affect me much. And even at this job right now, as being Muslim, we're the minorities at the end of the day. but it's the steps we're taking. You know what I mean? So it's the steps we're taking, breaking that balance. Because just like in most Muslim families, our families want us to be doctors, lawyers, nurses, you know, and that I was in a medical program. It didn't work out for me. It didn't happen. It worked out for my sister and my brother. It didn't work out for me. But I am where I am today, you know. But I broke that barrier of being law enforcement and military within my family. So hopefully I paved the road for other family members and people in my community to break that barrier. And with that, I have several cousins that work for a local municipality, county, even state. So that really set the pace for other people to follow. Does that answer your question, man? Thank you.
This is really a great activity. We appreciate that you guys came over here and appreciate everybody. It was very informative, and we do appreciate that. My question is, now, what if you get mistreated as a citizen? What are the processes of reporting this, and how far could you go? Thank you.
Well, I would say that
We couldn't let your son answer because that would have been
Hard question, Diablo, I can't.
But
I would always say that, you know, under any circumstances, and maybe I'm a bit biased in that sense, being a police officer, you should always remain respectful. And when someone is mistreating you, and let's just say, I mean, now these days there's videos, you know, even when the officer doesn't have one, you can, you know, there's videos of buildings and cameras everywhere, and people are recording. It will show later. I mean, the obvious thing to do is if you're not satisfied with the way you were treated, you can go into a police department and ask to speak to a supervisor, or you can have a supervisor respond to the scene where you are with that police officer. When you go to a police department, there's officer in charge, which is generally a lieutenant, and you can file a complaint with them. If, you know, it's after hours, that supervisor or sergeant or a lieutenant will take a complaint from you. And if it's something serious, they'll move it to internal affairs. And if it's not, it's something that, you know, some things they can deal with on their own, and they will bring the officer in and investigate and counsel if there needs to be any counseling. And then if it's daytime or it's something more serious, or, you know, it's even you think that an officer did something criminal, then you can go into internal affairs and sign a complaint against that officer. There's also, you can go to the county prosecutor's office. All criminal allegations are investigated by the county prosecutor's office against police officers, and also by the office of the attorney general. So there are steps that you can take depending on who it is that you are alleging misconduct upon. And so, you know, those are some of the general steps, but you can always go into headquarters or ask for an officer on scene, a supervisor, and explain to them what is it that how you were mistreated.
Yeah, also, Camille, to add to that too, piggyback off of that, you know, as far as the internet today, right? With any municipality, county, wherever you reside, look for it, go online, and ultimately what you want is documentation. You want paper trail. If you could go there physically as a person and you say you did something, later on someone could say, no, this is not what they voiced. This is not true. So ultimately you want to go with something that you have facts. So try to have it documented to some type of email process. And almost every unit out there is, if you have a situation with a local municipality, go on their website, look for the internal affairs unit, and speak to the detectives and tell them, you know, I want to voice my opinion on this, what happened, I was treated badly, or what have you, and say, can I email you, sir, on what happened? So now he or she has to investigate on it, depending on what it is. I work for the state, so most of my internal affairs matters comes from people from the streets, or any type of actions from civilians, inmates, or officers alike. So that's how we, start our investigation, some of it. But, so look out for the professional standards unit. So, those are specifically, they look at the matters for police officers and their actions. And, I have professional standards units within my department, and they investigate, officers, and I investigate officers as well. So, those are the, different areas you could reach out to. All right?
Guys, let me add on to that. Are all cops good cops? Let's be honest. There's a few bad cops out there. Just like there's bad lawyers, there's bad doctors, there's bad teachers. Every day, well, especially nowadays, they're trying to pass a thing called police reform. This young gentleman asked me, what do I think about George Floyd? It broke my heart to see an innocent man lose his life while police officers watched. It did not have to happen like that. And I don't agree with that, and everybody here, standing here, does not agree with that. All right? We are the good cops. We want to make sure that if there is a bad cop out there, that he doesn't be a cop anymore, because he's tarnishing my uniform that I put on every day. So if you have an encounter with the police officer, make sure that you're respectful. Make sure that you're honest and you don't lie. All right, if a police officer stops you for whatever reason, he has a reason. Most of the time, he has a reason why he stopped you. He wants to talk to you. Maybe you fit a description. Maybe somebody just stole 7-Eleven. He's wearing a white hoodie and green pants. So, was it you? No. But it's his job to come up to you and say, hey, what's your name? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? It's okay to answer those questions. That's part of the officer's job. And if you cooperate, you have nothing to hide, nothing to lose, right? So make sure that always look him in the eye, be respectful, be courteous. You can ask questions. It's okay to communicate. We are humans, yes. Underneath this badge, there is a heart. She does. Exactly. All right. Anyone else got anything on interactions?
So
Thank you,
this is the
thank
same
you.
again. But when you guys are in training, have you guys ever felt like this is too hard and you guys want to give up?
Go first.
I got you with this one. Okay, so when I started the academy, I had just had my second daughter. I still had the baby fat, okay? The instructors didn't think I could do it. They didn't think I was gonna finish the academy. I didn't think I was gonna finish the academy. But I knew I had to. Running is not my forte. So every day they ran. The academy I went to State Academy, they ran every day. So you would go maybe Mondays, and I said like run, okay, no problem. Tuesday, like, wait, that's not the run we had yesterday. So it's all a mental game. If this is what you want, that's what you're gonna go for. I ran every day that we went to the academy. I didn't fall out once. Why? Because every time I felt like, you know what? I can't take it anymore. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to fall out. I can handle this run. They're doing more laps than we did the day before. I would just get my mind occupied with something. We would run outside. So, and I said that story yesterday. I'm like, I would look at the geese flying above me. I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure I stay away from those. I don't want any accidents, And this is just what you have to do. You gotta make sure you stay focused. This is what I wanted to do. I had to finish this. I made sure I finished it. It's a mental game. If you're mentally strong, this is what you want to do, that's what you're gonna finish it. Does that answer your question?
Believe it or not, the physical aspect is one of the easy ones, I would say, in my opinion, because that's something that you can train for. So if you know that you're going to pursue a career in law enforcement, you should be training, physically, be fit, or at least know that you can run, you can look up the standards, what it is that you're required to do in the academy, and make sure that you train for that. And if you train for it, you'll be all right. And if you don't train for it, just like anything else, then you're gonna have a hard time going through it. So training is the key there. If you put your mind to it, you can get through it. We all have, so. Any other questions?
My name is Seja, and a couple years ago, someone like broke into my mom's car, and she filed a police report and everything, but she still has to pay for the damages. She didn't get anything back. The cops didn't find the person that broke in. So I know that like cops have more important things to do, like more important things to find. But is there like another reason why they don't?
You feel like they didn't investigate it properly?
Yeah.
Look, the way I think about this is if you were a victim of a crime, it's important to me. I wouldn't want that happening to my family. I wouldn't want that. And I'm not happy that it happened to you. Now, sometimes there's something that, you can investigate and you'll get the bad guy. And sometimes, there might be something else, a priority call or something else you have to handle, but I don't want you to think that what happened to you wasn't important enough. I mean, you may have got that from that particular cop's attitude, but we're all not like that. I mean, this is what we do, which is protect and serve. So if you were harmed in any way, even though it's just financial, it means something to us. And if I can solve it, believe me, I will. Sometimes there's just not much to go by. There might not be no cameras, might not, no one recognized the person, you don't know who the person is, and the person just got lucky and got away with it. So that could be it. It's not that we don't care what happened to you. It's just the circumstances were just a bit unfortunate.
Guys, with that said, don't make yourself a victim. And this is for the adults in the room too. Lock your car doors. Lock your windows. Turn on your lights in your house. Don't give intruders an entry into your house. You guys all use the internet, right? Yes? Social media? Do not give out any personal information. Don't be a victim. Don't give out your parents' credit card information. How many of you guys try to go on to Fortnite and buy V-Bucks? Mohammed Zain, right? You guys have my credit card saved, all right? Make sure you don't put any credit cards information your parents online. Don't give out your name, your address, your date of birth, because you don't know who you're talking to. There's a lot of strangers out there who will do anything to take advantage of you guys. So if you're playing Fortnite with Mahmoud from Michigan, guess what? Mahmoud's not 12 years old. He's really a 45-year-old creep, right? So don't trust everything you see online. Don't make yourself a victim. And if you see something, say something to your parents, to an adult, to a teacher. If you have to report something, report it to law enforcement officers, all right? If you're getting bullied online, how many guys have seen cyberbullying or witnessed it or been a victim of it? I was bullied once, and then I did taekwondo, and then after that, stop messing with me, So if you see something, say something, talk to an adult, get an adult involved. If you feel like somebody's being bullied, tell an adult. New Jersey has strong laws against cyberbullying to protect the victims of cyberbullying. People that do the bullying, they will be criminally charged. All right? By you standing there and just being silent, guess what? You're kind of being part of that bullying system.
And on that note, make sure you're not the bully. You're not doing.
We don't like bullies here.
So, just that's my point. That make sure that you're not the one doing the bullying either.
I'm gonna ask you a question, if that's okay?
Yes.
And then I'll have you ask a question, okay? As you see, we have a lot of kids here, alhamdulillah. So, and then they see a lot of negativity on TV, attacking Muslims, attacking our culture. And it's a lot of, every time they turn the TV on, there's something about terrorism and stuff like that, right? And then for you guys, it's this negativity about what happened in the last couple of years. I really want you guys to give these kids an advice how you handle it, because I know as a police officer, it's been tough the last couple of years, 3-4 years. People look at you differently. You're being attacked. People look negatively at, and then actually these kids kind of feel the same way. And I know some of you guys grow up the same feeling. So, and I know it's an identity that we have to go through, but I know you guys are adults, and these are the things I really want the kids to see, how you guys overcome what you did, what you had to go through to become, mashallah, very successful, and to come back and give back to the community like you do. So give us some advice of how you handle it, to these kids, how could they handle our situation if you guys want to take turns. But do you understand the question? You asked?
Oh, man.
Good man.
Thank you for an amazing question. Well, that's probably the best question tonight. Thank you. So much to say on this question. I like to start and say, everyone up here, and believe it or not, I actually met some of the panel up here for the first time tonight. And without knowing them well, I can tell you one thing. We all got into this profession because we wanted to help. We wanted to make change. We wanted to protect, we wanted to serve. And it was something about our childhoods, our families, something along those lines that we learned something along that path that we wanted to make a change, right? We wanted to help out. And so to answer your question, if you don't like something, is it ever going to change if you don't do anything about it? Probably not. So we are all up here in a position to what we call effectuate change. Some of us have some more powers than others. We have a louder voice. Some of us are stronger. Some of us are faster. But we all bring something unique to create that change. We start by talking about it, right? If you don't like something, no one doesn't know you don't like it until you say, I don't like it. Is the world sometimes a cruel place? Do people say things that are messed up? Absolutely. But if we talk about these things and we do things about the things that we don't like, that's how we create the change. We talked about before how police officers used to look, and they don't look like they used to before. I mean, this panel shows that. Like, there's what we call diversity. And if God blesses us, we can continue that diversity. And we can continue to make that change on the things that we don't like. Is it wrong to pick on you because you're Muslim? Absolutely. Being a Muslim is beautiful, as it is being Latino or being whatever. It's a beautiful thing. We bring something to the table. So to answer your question, or partly answer your question, one of the things that we have to do, we have to talk about it and hopefully get to a place to be about it. Create that change. And all of us up in here, that's what we're doing. And this is one of the ways that we do it. We talk to you. We hopefully answer the questions that you ask, and we continue to build on that change that we're trying to change, the things that aren't bad. We've all experienced it. I was listening to the other officer, and I was like, man, where the heck did you grow up at, man? He was going through it. He was like, yeah, I got robbed and this and that. I'm like, man, I thought I grew up in a bad neighborhood. And but I saw things as a child that I didn't like, and I didn't want to be a police officer. I was like, how can I do something about the things that I don't like? And life has its paths, and we learn and we go through things that lead us to certain places, and this is where it led me to. And I never realized how much power I had in the fact that, like, when the young man talked about the police officers yelling and this and that, I'm here and I can actually talk to the police officers and tell them, say, hey, when I was young, and I just spoke to a young man who said, listen, we approach the police officers, we're mean to them, we're yelling at them, we're talking to them, not, without respect. Those are the type of things that all of us here can change. It may not change real fast, but believe me, we are all up here. We all have stories that we can talk about it all night on things that we went through, and we're actually trying to change. So this is where it starts, and this is where it continues, by talking and saying what we don't like and doing something about the things that we don't like. You understand? That's an excellent question. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to contribute to that? He's been quiet on that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm feeling short-handed. So when it comes to being a victim of racial discrimination, right? If you're a victim, whether it's race, religion, ethnicity, well, race and ethnicity basically almost the same, but if you feel that you've been harassed a certain way, if you're at school and your buddies constantly making these bickering little comments that they're annoying you to a point where you feel, to a point where you're ready like to, defend yourself. So we ask, working in a school, right? there's teacher, principal, and then parent, right? You have an issue where someone is making comments every day over and over and over again about your race, your religion. Complain to the teacher, she will report it to the principal will call the parent, and we'll have a sit down, and we'll try to mediate that situation in school. Outside of school, almost the same thing. If you're out in the street and you're familiar with the person, they're a neighbor, and they consistently having bickering comments back and forth, you call the police, you make a report, you can sign complaints against the person. You gotta have their name, the address, at least. That's the most important thing. If we don't have a name and an address, who are we gonna sign a complaint to? Who are we gonna go to court against? So we should at least have that information. If it's something that you're walking down the street and somebody makes a negative comment, you know what? Sometimes you gotta be the better person and you continue walking about your way and go on and continue to do your business, right? But now if we turn around and we try to defend ourselves and take matters into our own hands, that can cause an incident, right? We want to avoid any of those type of incidences. So if it's in the street and it's just a comment, there's not much an officer can do versus one single comment of that sort, right? It's not something that we can take them to court because it no longer falls under that harassment. Harassment has to be something that is constantly, that you're so fed up that you're just off the top of your head. You're about ready and angry and you want something done. So there's always anything type of racial comments, sexual comments, anything that is continuous basis. You call the police, we'll come to the house, you tell us what's going on, you tell us when it happened, or how it happened. Our report gets generated, it gets forwarded to the detective bureau. The detective bureau then do their investigation, and it may even go as far even to the prosecutor's office. So you just have to say something, right? We've been saying, see something, say something. We're not going to be able to investigate it if you don't tell us what's going on. So, again, if any type of harassment, if you feel harassed for any rate, if it's in school, you got to tell the teacher tells the principal. If there's an SRO, we'll try to mediate it there in school. If it's on the outside world, you always sign complaints against the person, deal with it in court before the judge, and the judge, they'll have to explain to the judge their actions and why they're doing what they're doing. And then it could get even deeper from there. Especially now, times are changing, and there's a lot of laws that everything is being constantly fixed and reformed, and it's a learning process. So hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, let me just add one thing. So we talked about two big important tickets, right? And coincidentally, the officer just started touching upon that. New Jersey is probably the most. New Jersey is a real tough state to be a police officer in the sense, like they are really tough on us, meaning the police officers and how we conduct ourselves, probably more than any other state. Two things that they take very seriously is internal affairs. Like when you complain about a police officer, like that is very serious. Like they have to do something. So much so, we talked about the word reform, that like there's a process in place that like if you make a report about a police officer, the clock starts ticking on that police agency to do something about it, to come to an answer or a disposition, or mean like an end, like investigate the allegation or the complaint that was made against them. So much so that like at some point in the near future, most of the officers, if not all, are gonna have cameras. If the communities we serve don't trust us, we're gonna have problems every day. There has to be a level of trust where you can trust that if you make a complaint against a police officer, that something's gonna be done about it. We're not there yet. I know that, we know that. we're gonna get there. We have to get there because we're gonna continue having the same issues if we don't get to a place where we trust each other and you believe in us and we do the job that we're paid to do. The other issue comes along with, like I said, these bias crimes, these hate crimes. Unfortunately, New Jersey is one of those states where there's a lot of bias and hate crimes, which again, it's a big issue. And unfortunately, the communities that we all live in, sometimes we don't have that faith about what's gonna happen. Oh, they call me this, they call me that, they call me whatever. Like, these are the type of things that we're addressing and we're taking serious, so much so that, like, they even change the crime, like the punishment for it. With something like this, you could be a 4th degree, they can actually turn to a 3rd degree or even a 2nd degree, depending how you go about doing it. And it's all communities across the board. Like, you know, a lot of, like, the Asian community took a big hit because they thought that, well, people could feel a certain way because they were like, oh, Corona started from this and that, whatever, and the Asian community took a hit. Same thing with like the Italian communities. They're like, oh, you know, they started spreading the coronavirus and this and that. Like, there's all these misconceptions or whatever the case may be, these beliefs that people had, and they just start spreading it, and it creates problems. As in the Muslim community, as in the Latino community. So we as people, this is very serious in New Jersey. Like, when you start going along those biases and those hates, and you express it and you do things, this state is not the state to play around with that. And there's more people, thankfully, are reporting this. And like I tried to talk about it before, the only way we do something about this or change this is by doing something about it and talking about it. Report these instances if they're happening. That's how we know that they're going on, and we can try to do something about it. All right?
Yeah. I'm just gonna wrap up with saying, well, as far as for that question, have some of us here been discriminated against at one point? Absolutely. I know I have. I can speak for the majority of this panel. We've been discriminated against. The majority of us here went to school during 9/11. I know me, Hiba, Camille, Ali, and most of us, we live in Jersey City. So this is the most diverse city, and it's one of the most diverse city in the entire nation, and we still got discriminated against. Can you face some challenges? Yeah, you might face some challenges, but don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. If you want to do something, you can do it, and if you put your mind to it, you will achieve it regardless. As Arab Muslim police officer, I think that's what you meant before, we almost have like a double negative, where I find myself, defending my religion and background at one point, and then the next thing I'm defending my profession and the other. You hear news about Muslims and you're like, oh, and then we start hearing news about bad stuff about cops, we're like, oh. So we're getting like the double end of the stick, it's tough. So we're always constantly feel like we're on defense, defending ourselves. But it doesn't change what we want to do, it doesn't change who we are, it doesn't change how we treat people. So the way we, perceive, the way we act towards people and the way we handle and control ourselves is the image that we portray onto people. So you continue being yourself, continue being the good person. Don't let bad people make you a bad person, and you'll achieve everything you want in life, inshallah.
Guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Be proud of your religion, all right? God created us Muslims, alhamdulillah. Be proud of your heritage, where your parents come from. Be proud of the way your parents look, your mothers, your sisters, all right? The best way to create your future, best way to predict your future is to create it. That's a quote from Abraham Lincoln. We have brochures here, guys, that we'll hand out that you can take home to your parents, and you can, once you get older, you can join our organization, whether it's via student membership for college students once you guys do get to college. It was a pleasure having you guys today. For me especially, growing up in this masjid and being where you were. And I'd like to thank Brother Kamal for having us. It's a great honor. And inshallah, we come back in the near future if you guys want us. All right? Thank you.
Well, we really appreciate you guys coming out, taking the time. We're gonna give a hand in a second. Taking your time out of your own family time, your work to come and see these kids. I think it's really important for these kids to see you guys here out here, it's really important. They need to look up to role models like you guys, and that's really what we're trying to create here. So I hope you guys come back, and I hope you guys come and visit us. Even if you're passing through, whatever, can stop by, and these kids will say hi to you. I think you guys, I hope you guys learned something, inshallah. And then I really appreciate you guys coming and giving us the time that you did. Give them a hand, guys, please. Okay, go ahead and stop. Stay out here. We're gonna pray Isha, okay? And then we'll go downstairs. We'll do basketball and stuff like that. All that stuff that we always do. Okay, thank you, guys. We have dinner for you guys. There. No, we have dinner for 15 people. So we have. So,